Hi, I'm Miss Elizabeth from the St. Mary's County Library, and I'd like to welcome you to my backyard and also to my Bees Are Our Buddies program. So today I'm going to teach you all about honeybees. We're going to learn about the different jobs that honeybees have. We're going to learn about how bees are pollinators. We'll learn about the different tools that we use in beekeeping. And then we're also going to go inside of a beehive so that you can see the different bees and what they're doing inside the hive. Now we're able to do this today because my family and I have just taken up the hobby of beekeeping this spring. And so we're still learning. It's a very exciting hobby though. We're having a lot of fun and I wanted to share that with all of you. So let's learn about some honeybees. Bees are our buddies because they are pollinators. And pollinators are very important to our environment because they help the flowers to grow and they also help our fruits and vegetables to grow as well. Bees do this by carrying pollen from flowers and plants to different flowers and plants, and that helps them to continue to bloom and for gardens to continue to grow. So without bees, we wouldn't have the very important fruits and vegetables that we need to eat and stay healthy every day. So next, let's talk about the different jobs that bees do. Did you know that there are different types of honeybees that work inside the hive? That's right, there are 3 different types of bees inside of the honeybee hive. So the very first important type of bee is the queen bee, and there's only one queen bee inside of each hive. The queen bee is very important because she lays eggs so that there are always new bees to work inside of the hive. So that's all the queen does all day long is lay eggs, and it's a very important job. Now we also have something called drones. And the drones stay inside the hive, and they're kind of a medium-sized bee, and they're always in the hive. They don't leave the hive. And their job is to take care of the baby bees. So when the queen lays the eggs, they make sure that everything, that they get fed, and that everything goes just perfectly so that new baby bees are born to help do the work. The last type of bee in the honeybee hive is the worker bee. Now the worker bee is important because they leave the hive. They're the ones that go and collect the pollen. They bring the pollen back to the hive, and that's what is used to make the honey, and it's also used to make food for the baby bees. So each bee inside the hive has a very important job to do, and they all work together to make sure that everything works perfectly. So why don't we next talk about some of the tools that we use as beekeepers? There are a few different tools that beekeepers use to help to take care of the hive, and they're very important. So the first tool that a beekeeper has is the suit. So I'm wearing my top today. There's a hat that goes on it, and I'll pull this up on my head later when we go over to the hive. I also have some big gloves that cover my hands. They're nice and thick, and they come up my arms to help protect my arms too. Now some people also wear the pants that go with the suit, and that's fine. I always wear jeans when I go out. You always want to make sure that you have your feet covered and your ankles covered and your legs covered, and also your arms, your hands, and your head. The bees are generally very calm and they don't bother us. They just continue to work while we do our work in the hive. But sometimes they might get a little irritated, and just in case, we cover up to protect ourselves from any stings we might get. So we use some other tools too. We use a smoker. So the smoker is what we take over to the hive with us, and this helps the bees to stay a little bit calm, and also it confuses them a little bit. If somebody blows smoke in your face, you'd get a little annoyed and confused, right? You'd probably go away. And so that's what this does. It's not bad smoke, it's just some little bit of pine needles that we burn, and we puff the smoke so that it just kind of moves the bees away from an area so we don't have too many crowded around. It's also very important when we're in the hive that we don't hurt the bees. Bees are very delicate, and we want to make sure that we don't do anything to squash a bee or harm a bee. So sometimes we have to squeeze our smoker to move them out of the way so they don't get harmed. So that's our smoker. And then another tool that we use is a scraper. So this has kind of some sharper edges, not like a knife, but it's thinner here. And it's almost like a blade, and we can use this to scrape off extra comb on the hive. And then we can also use it to kind of pick things up. Sometimes it's hard to pick up our frames. I'll show you the frames inside the hive. And And then we can also use this to scrape honeycomb off the frames too when we're ready to harvest some of that honey. So this is a scraper tool that we use. So those are our most important tools: our smoker, our scraper, and of course our protective bee suit. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk a little bit more about beekeeping and what's going on inside the hive, and then I will take you guys over to the hive and you're going to get to see what's happening in there today. The last thing we're going to talk about today before we go to visit the hive is the hive itself. So I want to tell you a little bit about what the hive looks like and what's going on in there. So bees like to have a nice quiet place to work, and so we've put our hive over next to a fence, between the fence and our shed, where nobody walks by and they don't get bothered too much. And it's also dark inside there. It just gives them a nice quiet place that they can go and do their work. Now inside the hive, we have a box that's a hive. And inside the hive are 10 frames, and they're just like boards almost, and they fit down inside. And on those frames, we have some plastic comb, and that gives the bees something to build on. And the comb has a hexagon shape. Do you know what a hexagon is? Well, if you don't know what a hexagon is, it's a shape that has 6 sides, and that's how bees build their comb, with the 6-sided shape. And they put their honey inside there, and they also lay the eggs inside the comb. Do you remember which kind of bee lays the eggs? That's right, it's the queen bee. So we're going to go over today, and we're going to look for the queen bee and see if we can find her. Sometimes she's a little hard to find. I'll show you all some drones. I'll show you our worker bees. Hopefully we'll see some with pollen on their legs where they collect the pollen. And then I'll also show you what it looks like when we have parts of the honeycomb, or parts of the comb with that has eggs in it and that has honey in it as well. So I'm very excited to show you all the hive. So we're going to stop so that I can finish getting on my suit, and we're going to go over and take a look. Okay, so here we are. We're right in front of the hive, and we're going to open that box up today. We're going to take a look inside it, and I'm going to show you some really exciting things in there. The hive, the box that we've built, is built by my husband, and then my daughter painted it. Also later today, we're going to add another box up on top, because we actually build the boxes on top so that the bees can continue to make more honey and also lay more eggs throughout the course of the summer. So it's really important we add to that. So we're going to go ahead and get things opened up. I'm going to get my smoker lit, and I'll show you guys what's happening. All right, so what we're looking at here, I'm going to blow the smoker down. You can get down in there, Abby. I'm going to blow a little bit of smoke at those bees, see if I can get them to kind of move around. Oops, it's not closed good. And this is called our sugar water. We actually give the bees some food to eat. It's just water with sugar in it. They like it. And I'm going to lift up this that was holding that. Oh, we got some comb built up. Look at all those bees. Isn't that exciting? All right, I'm going to set this aside. Down here where it's safe. We don't want our bees to get hurt. And we're going to blow some more smoke here. See if we can get those bees to move. Okay. I'm going to lift this box. Yeah, and so they've gotten a little carried away building some of their comb. Now this is what they built, and it's made of wax. If you could feel it with your finger, it feels kind of rubbery. It's wax. That's what their hive is made of. All right. You got a good shot of that, Abby? All right, so there's our bee friends working away. Now this stuff here, we put in here. These are called pollen patties. And it's just another food source for them. So this makes it so they don't have to go so far away to get food, and they can keep working inside the hive. So we did that to help the bees out a little bit. This is where I'm going to use my scraper tool. Remember the scraper? I'm going to use that to kind of get this off a little bit here, some of that extra comb, because we don't need that. We don't want them building up here. Let's see. There's not going to be much on this first one here. See, there's only a few on there. Now, do you remember when I told you that we put in plastic honeycomb? That's what this is. This isn't what the bees built. This is plastic, and the bees just use this to build off of. So they haven't built any honeycomb on this yet. And we'll just set that down. Now we're gonna pull up another. Okay, this has some more bees on it, but there's still no comb on that. We're gonna put that back in and just move it over. And we wanna be really delicate and careful because we don't wanna squash our bee friends. All right, now we're gonna pull up another. And this one should have some things happening on it. And if you see, we numbered ours. These are the frames and they have numbers. We numbered them so that we can keep a record of what's happening on each frame. All right, now this we have some more bees on. We have a little bit more happening. A lot of bees moving around. They've built a little bit of honeycomb. If you can see, it's raised up. They've built a little honeycomb off. And I'm gonna turn it over. Really careful, try not to squash my friends. Now also, another thing I didn't tell you is that the worker bees are all girls. So the girls do all the work. Going to get the honey, going to get the pollen to make the honey. Anybody there? Okay, now there's a good bit more happening on this one here. So let me get my pointer tool for you real quick. I want to show you some things on here. So we've got this stuff here. You see how it looks kind of crinkly and like crinkled paper? This is where the queen has laid eggs. There are actually larvae inside of all of these. So the egg was laid and then it was covered up. And so they have larvae growing in there. It's sort of like a cocoon for a butterfly. And they grow inside of there and then they come out as a bee. So we've got a lot of that here. So this is going to be a lot of new bees. We always need lots and lots of bees to do all this work. So let's see, what else can we see on here? Now some of these have some color inside of there. I don't know if you can see in there. Just a little bit of color, and up here on these, that's nectar in there. That's nectar down inside those. All right, let me turn it around. Ooh, there's a lot of bees on that side.
Have you found the queen yet?
Haven't found the queen yet. All right, so here's one that's built further out. We think maybe that's going to be another queen, but we're not sure. Now, can you see this one here, how it's raised up? This right here? It's raised up higher than the other ones. Now, that has a bee in it, but that one is actually going to be a drone. You remember the drones, they stay inside, and they help the queen. And they're a little bit bigger than all these worker bees. And the drones come out of those kinds of little cells. And there's a bunch together right here. You see all the little raised ones? There's a bunch right here. Those are going to be drones too. Now let me see if I can find a drone bee on here to show you. Now they look different because they're a little bigger, but they've also got really big eyes on top of their head. It's bigger than the worker bees. Okay. This one? Yep. See where my pointer is, everybody? That's a drone bee. It's a little bit bigger, and its eyes on top of its head are bigger than the other bees too. So that's what our drone bees look like. And there aren't as many of those as there are worker bees. But they all are in there together doing their work. Now, if you also look in this area, this is all nectar. It's going to become honey. So eventually they'll cover this up and this will be honey. So they'll use this for their food. And this is all their larvae. They're going to be new bees. And when we put more boxes on top, we're gonna start to get honey that we can eat. Yum! Now I wanna point out to you guys that right now the bees are being calm. You see they land on me, but this is why I wear these thick gloves and all of this protective stuff, so that if they do decide to sting me, I won't get hurt. But they're pretty calm. They go about their work and they do their thing, and they let us do our work. And our work is very important. Our work is to take care of the bees and make sure that they're happy and healthy. See? We're gonna chase them back down. Go down, girls. There you go. Good job. Okay. Now let's see. This here is open. There might be some. You might be able to see a little larva that's not been capped inside. Do you see anything white down inside that hole, Abby?
I think I do.
Here, hold on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I see larva.
Where is it? Where'd it go? Right here. There's a bee on it. You see white down inside of it?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay, that's a little egg, a little larva growing, and eventually they'll cover it up so it can finish to become a bee.
Thank you for joining me today to learn more about honeybees. We did have to cut our video a little bit short today because the bees were starting to get agitated. So because we couldn't find the queen, I did include some pictures for you of our queen. I also included some pictures of the bees with pollen on their legs. These are in their pollen pockets that they take back to the hive to make honey. At the end of the video, there is also a list of resources where you can learn more about honeybees and other pollinators and what you can do to help out the pollinators in nature. Stay tuned between 3 and 4 o'clock today, and you can ask me any questions in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer them so that we can all continue to learn about how wonderful the honeybees are. Thanks again.